So as a mother of brown forces, I felt I can't live without firstly saying thank you and good morning. I'm sure all of us by now we know, because this thing started last year. If you remember, last year we had a whole month program on the issues and violations against women. And most of those violations are violations where women were forcefully or coerced into sterilization. Sterilization, we don't mean the sterilization of sanitizing things or sanitizing the body. We mean a sterilization where a woman is sterilized in the form of you can never give birth again, you can never bear children again. But this was done against their consent. They were never consented to. It's either when they were willing your wife or your girlfriend or your cousin or your sister to theater at the time where they were giving birth to their children of the time. At that moment where you are being wheeled into a theater, you get presented with a bunch of papers to sign, and you get told, this one you agree for us to open you agree that we must give birth, this one you agree that you get sterilized. You don't even know the meaning of sterilization. And when those things happen, they happened since the latest case or earliest case we have is 1998, and the latest case is 2021. So in 1998, you are 17 years old, you made a mistake, you are still in high school, you fell pregnant, you go to hospital. When you get to hospital, you are presented with the worst news you have never expected, that you are HIV positive. And at that moment, with the shock of you being HIV positive, you must still give birth to this child. And they take a unilateral decision as doctors to just sterilize you because you are HIV positive. And they make you a barren that you can never ever have children. You do not know all of that. You are not used to this environment. You still have a shock. You still have to disclose. You don't know whether to disclose or not. You don't even know if your child is going to be infected. There's so many things in your head that are going on. Then you are getting presented with this file to sign simply because you want a life for this baby. You are signing because you think you are signing for the doctors to deliver your baby healthy and safely. Meantime, you are being coerced. When they say sign because sterilization, then they regard that as an explanation to you that we explained the process to the patient. Meantime, the process where now you thought when they say sterilization, you think they are going to sanitize everything. They are not really talking about you being a barren altogether. Now, at a later stage, many of these women, when they start getting stability in their lives, now they are working, now they have stable relationships, now they're getting married, but they can't get children. And then the in-laws or your mother or yourself, you take an initiative to go to a gynecologist to get to know and understand, why am I not able to give children? Because I had a child. But all of a sudden now I can't fall pregnant. And the gynecologist tells you, no. Have you ever undergone a procedure in your life? Like, no. No, but your womb has been removed. Your uterus is removed, or your tubes. The tubes, you know most biology. Your tubes are cut. Like, but I've never said those things must happen to me. I've never at any time in my life get into a procedure and or agree to such a procedure to be operated on you. So then a doctor will make you to recall or perhaps think of the time in your life where you have ever been into a theater. And the only time you've been in a theater was the time you were giving birth. And then it starts occurring to you that those papers you were signing on your way to theater, you are suffering the pain of labor, you have the worry of being HIV positive, you don't know if your baby is going to be infected or not, you have a worry of disclosing, you don't know if the medication you are going to react to it, or you are going to live out of taking the medication. There's so many things. You don't know if there's going to be support at home or you are going to be the outcast at home and all those things. So when you get there and try to do all the tracing in your life of when exactly was I in the theater, and it becomes that day when you were giving birth, and then the doctor tells you no, then on that day you were not only giving birth, you got sterilized. So many women, this happened early in their life, and they go to realize it very late in their lives. So in realizing it very late in their lives, we will understand how the justice in South Africa and the laws of South Africa operate. There is something called a prescription. So if anything is not reported within the space of 3 years, it therefore falls off. Now they can't go to the police, those women, they can't come here themselves. They can't come here and open a case because that thing now is regarded as prescribed. But in South Africa, we have bodies that are Chapter 9 to strengthen the democracy and safeguard our livelihoods. They can then utilize those platforms like the Commission for Gender Equality, the Human Rights Commission, to come there and say, this thing is prescribed for me to go to the police and have a proper, successful prosecution. But help me because my rights were violated. And therefore, human rights has to investigate, go back to that hospital, understand the extent in which the violation has taken place and the damage thereof it has caused and the implications of that in your life. Some of the women from KZN will understand that we live in different provinces, we still suffer the patriarchal mentality. Some of them in KZN lost their marriages because if you can't give birth, you have no use of that marriage. They lost their properties because if you can't give birth, therefore you cannot own property in certain tribes. So the loss of those is not only for you not to be giving birth, but now the implication is that you become a useless person that can't even be productive. You can't own a property, you can't get married because no one wants to be married to someone who cannot give birth. So in looking into that, that's what Human Rights Commission has to get in and understand and then go plead with the judges that you need to uplift this prescription on this because there was a serious violation here by Hospital A and Dr. B. And then Hospital A and Dr. B should then be prosecuted. And the department then must start looking into the matter as well, which is the health department, and see how best they can sit and correct that injustice with the women through the means of either compensation, and if ever some of those procedures can be reversed with the latest technology, see if they can reverse that. But most importantly, we understand that the way this thing has damaged their life, they have to be compensated in some point, that there should be some type of justice that is provided by both the health and the justice system of South Africa. Why did we come here? Why are we opening cases? Remember I said these things are prescribed. We have these entities that were supposed to have been our protectors and defend us. These two entities failed. There is one statistics that came in a form of a report from Human Science Research Council that was taken. It's just a sample that was taken. It's not all the cases that are in South Africa. A sample of over 6,000 was done, and that study revealed that 7% of that study, women indicated that they have been forcefully or coerced into sterilization, which a number, when we calculate it, is 476 women. So those 476 women that were reported by the Human Science Research Council, they reported them to a South African AIDS Council seminar that was in Durban back in 2015. So upon getting that report, through our TG, we reported to the human rights that there is this issue. Can you investigate and find women and help them? Human Rights refused to investigate that and referred us to 48 other women which have gone individually to their own NGOs to now the Commission for Gender Equality, and there were 48 of them. Now here's the numbers, 46 and 48. 48 went to the Gender Commission, and 476, no one wants to report or investigate on their behalf. Yet, Human Science Research Council, in a body led by a deputy president of a country, South African AIDS Council, that is always led by a deputy president of a country, failed to report these violations to human rights. We say, okay, it looks like they missed this information. Let's take it up on ourselves to make them aware. Section 9 of the Sterilization Act is clear. Anyone who violates the Act is guilty of an offense and liable to prosecution and sentencing. So CGE, within its mandate, it was supposed to report to the law enforcement, for the law enforcement to investigate further the criminal aspect of sterilization. We gave them a year and told them again, wrote back to them to say, there is an element you have left out in your report, and we are going to give you time to look into it. Now, the failure to report these hospitals and doctors is now resulting and perpetuating the violence again and again and again, because the doctors are just doing it with impunity. There is no action, no one takes them to task, nothing happens. So these two bodies were supposed to stop this by opening cases, because there is a criminal element of this thing. They were supposed to have opened the cases and referred the violations to law enforcement, so that the law enforcement can start arresting the doctors and nurses who are making people to sign unaware that they are signing their lives away. So it's not going to stop until someone does something about it. We are going to still deal with the Department of Health though. We have a process now with the Department of Health. There was a referral to them so that they must look into the matter. So we have a process now with the Department of Health. We just wrote to the minister again to have a follow-up meeting. We're giving the minister 48 hours to give a feedback and acknowledge our day of the meeting. If they fail to do that, we are going to see what we are going to do. And if ever the police themselves cannot investigate and send this thing to prosecution, we want a certificate from prosecution that they say, we refuse to prosecute this particular matter, and us as the EFF, we are going to privately prosecute it.
Yeah.